Pinnacle. I think it's kind of having a little bit of a resurgence in terms of its viability. I feel like it does have quite competitive answers to it, stuff like Lissandra, stuff like the Veigar instantly as well, which I wouldn't be
Lock
surprised
it
for
in.
GameWard to pick it out. In this next
Lock
few
it in.
things, yeah, no, I can understand why they've done that. I think jungle pick here for me, probably Viego for Akabane, I can imagine, or the Wukong's obviously available as well. I can see him taking that as well.
Yeah, great. And Wukong will actually get locked in. I think right now, currently, what I'm looking at, and just, keeping in the back of my mind, is that Veigar Lissandra pick into the Ari we've seen so many times. So I think you want to be careful with what you pick down towards the bottom side as well. You don't want to make it too short range, because if you keep everything short range of Go, it's going to be very difficult playing into some of these, mages that shuts down mobility. And seeing Ali Sin now, I actually don't think that's a good sign. I think you're really just putting everything in the lines that, right, let them just lock in Lissandra, let them lock in Veigar here, and
Yeah.
we'll be having a really hard time. I think Go, they might be pincering themselves a little bit. They need more range to play around with unless they want to be trapped here.
Which I think you would get provided for you by Ronaldo, but I think this now sets up probably a recant ban from GameWard in the second ban phase. Something that you'd see, a little bit of a roaming style. I think GameWard have to pick the Veigar here. I don't imagine it getting through the ban phase
Lissandra
before
Veigar.
draft. The Sandra Veigar has to be picked here, I think, because there is a world in which you don't to go ban
I
both
think
of
it's
them if you don't
I
pick
think
them.
it's just so easy. I think it makes everything
Yeah,
so easy. You already have Go button in terms of the Wukong. Obviously, I think there's other.
I don't think it's Swain.
It's fine, okay? It's still fine. It's still playable. It's good versus Ari in the early game. I just don't think it shuts down the Lee Sin in the same capacity as some of the other champions would have done. This does provide you, though, is now that there's not too much good damage over time coming through from Go. A lot of the damage from Ezreal comes out in the burst damage he has. The same goes for Ari. And that means for Swain, if you don't shut him down immediately, he's going to have a lot of value in terms of the sustain. He's already got Seraphine on the team as well. They could be playing Swain, Seraphine, Darren towards the bottom side. That's a possibility too. And moving into this second ban phase, Senna might even have to get banned too, just because of the fact that Senna and Seraphine is such a potent lane in the bottom.
Well, I think Senna Swain as well, like you're saying, is also another combination you could go. You could even whirl that Seraphine up into the mid lane as well. I think it's I definitely think some of the blinds that we're seeing getting taken away by Go makes somewhat sense. I'm a bit dubious on the Nautilus ban here, but I think
Yeah,
you
there
obviously
it
you've
is.
allowed that Senna to go through, and this really just gives so much flexibility for R5.
They must have a plan on Go, because I think it's so easy to tell what they're looking for GameWard with the kind of composition they have. So either you just go full poke here, you blind pick a Jace and you say we're never going to be near our opponent, we're just going to outrange them. Or you get the kind of game plan where they're like, oh, I guess we pick on here and try and out team fight them, and then if they don't come ahead, well, it's going to be a little bit dodgy. Gragas has been locked in. So far, we've seen a lot of Gragas in the top lane, but it's no longer the weak side Gragas in terms of him just buying tank. Now they're actually going for the Night Harvester. They're actually going to play that, I will come in and one-shot you with just my Anunu kind of, Gragas combo.
Yeah, no, and with the Sona, oh god, a Sona here as well. I feel like they have difficulty in terms of if they can't find that initial setup with the kills, they're going to be so hard pressed to really get on and stick to the GameWard composition. There's so much stopping power you feel like for GameWard. I feel like it's got to be a combination of Lee Sin and Gragas working together to find these picks alongside the Ari. But if you dodge out from this initial CC and you don't layer it, I feel like GameWard are just going to flat out win pretty much every fight post 20 minutes.
I mean, I'd agree with you right now as well. You get counter pick on top, so I don't think you have to lock in a Camille, but I guess it does create some extra side lane kill pressure you can try and attempt for. Gragas doesn't mind playing against Camille. It's actually a super easy laning phase where you just play it neutralizing, don't necessarily win, but you can go for the 2v2 instead. But yeah, I agree with what your sentiment was in terms of the composition. I think Go has very limited windows as to how their composition functions. The team fighting will come through either picks or through setup like the mechanical display you get with the kick or the Gragas cast, forcing some of the opponent's carry into you. My main concern with that is either you're putting Wukong into your own team, you're putting Swain into your team, or you're going to be outranged by the Senna and Seraphine, so you need to come in with a really good flank where vision control has been completely accounted for. And that quite often requires setup. And to have setup, it requires you to win your lane, so you just get, to be the first team on the objective every time. Where I feel like the scaling aspect as well in GameWard's composition also allows them to not only be good in a team fight, but it more steadily but slowly and surely as the game prolongs also creates a side lane win condition in the Camille. So I think GameWard's, it's playable. It's definitely not something I'd love to play, but I'm sure that if they're just going to handstick their opponent, as we've seen them try every now and then, it's a composition that kind of fit their stylistic.
No, I would agree with that completely. And I feel like if you want to talk about setups, I feel like Go are a team that we've seen kind of struggle to set up on red side in terms of their drafts, in terms of the actual thematic presence they want to have. I mean, they've got one win. I think it's actually 5 of their losses come from red side. So they're not really a team that really benefits a lot of the time from getting that counter pick and being in response. They're very much a team that likes to set the tone. And we've seen that a lot of the time. It's a team that they love to skirmish. They love to set the tone early. They love to kind of get their agency and presence on the game. And if they can do that against GameWard, it's very much what won them that first outing they had against them in their first round of the split. They'll be looking to 2-0 here. They'll be looking to try and tally up to that halfway mark, secure that playoff spot. But in any case, is there anything else you want to just briefly go over, Goldball, before we get into this game?
No.
You've thrown a little curveball there. But in any case, we'll be getting into the game rather shortly. Don't go anywhere. We will be analysing this game. It's set to be a rematch of that previous excursion whereby Go took it. So we'll have to see what happens this time. We'll see you very shortly. Onto the Rift now. 4 Go versus Team GameWard. You see GameWard encased in their crystal barrier, as well as Team Go. Ready to get on the Rift, ready to get a little bit of a tense game here. You saw the game last game. We spoke about it previously. Decided very much around these dragons, very much around these early skirmishes. Do you think it's fair to say that we're heading in a similar direction today, Goldborg?
I mean, we might be. I think there's definitely opportunities for it. But I think a lot of it has also been execution based from some of the teams, in the game we had earlier as well with Solari and LDLC. I think the willingness that came out of Go to just create plays all the time in the early game, and specifically from Jogo to drop camps to make plays happen, is really what blasted that game so open. I think from Karim as well, now on the Lee Sin, it's a pick that has had struggles in the meta currently just because there's so much that stops mobility, and I think him finding these perfect kicks as well will be very crucial in terms of the isolation he will have on specific champions, because even then it's going to be very difficult finding the carries on GameWard's team.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I'm expecting to see a little bit of a slowed down pace for GameWard. You can imagine they don't want to take too many risks in this early game. It's very much the case that they scale up in 3 different positions, I think arguably even in most of the positions. We talked about this top lane matchup, and it's something I want to highlight quickly with you, Goldborg. It's you speak about Gragas being a comfortable pick into the Camille, but when does that threshold get met? Because I think Camille is renowned for that kind of 3-item spike where it just starts to take over in the side lane. Does NewQ on the Gragas, does he have the tools to avoid that? I
mean, you can dread it, you can run from it, but time on a side lane champion will always arrive unless, the other side of the map has just completely demolished their opposition. The thing for NewQ, there's not too much you can do in just like what we're seeing right now, other than not dying. Your sole job is to be the kind of neutralizer into the Camille. Then once you have your level 6 as well, that's where you can start to look for plays. And you have kill pressure, even with Karim passing up towards that top side of the map.
Nice little trade here from GameWard early. Got obviously a little bit more sustained. Going to be taking out some nice little trades onto Smiley and Vignerum. Playing there's real Bard. Bard, a champion, I believe we've seen it in one previous outing in the LFL, and we spoke about it being a champion where you really want to just get this prio and start to ward these jungle entrances. It's really the jungle tracker, I think, is kind of the playstyle. You can kind of coordinate the map in a similar way to Pike. But really difficult, quite difficult to do that into Seraphine Center, I think it would be fair to say.
I think so as well, but at the same time, you don't have to get priority for Bard to roam around the map into Senna and Seraphine, because there's not a lot of tower dive potential in a lane like Senna and Seraphine, and that makes it very safe to Estral to just stick around, even when his support is not around. I think more specifically, when you finally hit that level 4, you start picking up Chimes as well that spawns in lane. You can just drop the hot Cocos, you can leave Smiley by himself, and we won't have to worry about the damage.
Q goes wide from Camillus, so close to hitting there.
Vignerum almost sold out his AD carry there as well by pathing into the same angle he was sitting in for the center Q.
Yeah, that could have been bad, but there's going to be around about 2 waves missed actually here, and Seraphine Center getting a very good early advantage there. When he goes aggressive, Lee Sin is here. Probably going to have to burn Flash here. A little bit of over-aggression from him.
Melonic not on the GP as we so often see him on. This time around, the Camillus we already mentioned. And yes, the kill pressure we spoke about. Kareem started red buff. He made his way up towards the top side of the map. But there's also a counter response. Akabane, currently full cleared, is on the scuttle. Smiley has to be back to lane. He's level 2. But with the intel of the enemy jungler on the top side, you could try and look for a pressure play. Moving Chocolate down with Akabane too. But they don't fancy themselves a tower dive in this current economy of the durability patches, and they just go for resets instead.
Yeah, we're heading for a jungle recession, and let's see, Melonic might be receding himself back into the grey screen here as he has no flash. UQ going to be trying to get that W. One more will do it. Flash forward from Kareem.
Oh no!
Oh, that could have been dangerous. Kareem gets that final little fist to the face, and it does mean that Melonic is dropped unconscious. First blood for Go. They are the first to strike on the map.
And not only that, ooh, Inax though, looking
splashed
for something in bot lane.
They're going to get another wave in. So much pressure coming up from the GameWard bot lane.
Yeah, even Vision of Empire coming through from Chocolate, just slightly, but surely roaming down a little bit to the bot side. You know, interesting also that we see Inax on the Seraphine and Camilius on the Senna herself. So actually, Inax now towards a mage champion instead of the AD carries that we usually see him on so prominent.
Well, you know, he's been having some absolute carry performances on the Ezreal and stuff like that. He just wants a little bit of a rest to, you know, rest his hands and whatnot. I understand it completely. Camilius, you know, on the Senna now. Going to be sending some people some very aggressive messages with those Qs and those Rs later. I think one of the potency, I think in contrast to with the Senna here, you can think that when Vignum's going to be roaming around the map, obviously Senna, when he reaches that level 6 mark, going to be able to have that cross-map potency as well. I really feel like that's going to be able to leave Inax on somewhat of an island at a certain point as well.
So I'm a bit of a Seraphine connoisseur myself. Sarah
Really?
Queen, as me and the homies call her.
Sarah Queen.
Sarah Queen. And
What was the one you had yesterday? Never say
Yone. Never say no to the Yone. That was the one yesterday.
Yeah,
Sarah Queen is the one today. And with this, you know, setup specifically where you are playing the one farming, you can either go for still a Moonstone Renewer if that's what you're looking for, hoping for sustained damage with Senna, then going for the Eclipse build herself. But there's also the possibility of you rushing Leander's Anguish together with the Lucidity Boots, and then just Seraph's Embrace, because you get so much high value CDR on your abilities that makes it so difficult to play the game.
Camilius, very aggressive here, and they've got the wave in a very good spot here. You can see Camilius just warding them off. 1v2 at this point. Gun in hand. Gun at the holster, gun at the ready here. New Q and Melonic. A little bit around this turret. Kareem's obviously waiting in the bush. You can imagine that Akamani's not aware of that. Melonic goes for the ultimate here. Oh, it's a great E there from Nuku that cancels out Melonic.
Oh no.
Oh, it's not going to quite get... And this is going to actually maybe get turned around here. Kareem W's back. Visions of Empire comes out as well. Q goes wide. It's not quite the trade we wanted, but new Q's still going here. Akabane doesn't have that W quite yet. Oh, that's going to be bad. Kareem picks that one up. Last turret hit. Chocolad's here, though. Flash forward. W is going to take it. 1 for 1 right now. Good little roam from Chocolade. He's here before the Ari can be.
And Camille is obviously not level 6 on the opposite end of the spectrum, so couldn't really go up with the center ultimate. So yeah, decent dive. I think it could have been a little Q cleaner from this side of Go. Nuku's cask went wide there and actually sent Melonic back to the safety. That could have been a clean kill. You wouldn't have had to trade it back, but Chocolate with the roam up secures one for themselves. It's
a shame as well, because the E was so good. You sort of saw the ult in, and then it was cancelled. Well, not cancelled entirely, but it was interrupted somewhat by Nuku's E. Very good there, and he thought almost it would have, yeah, like you're saying there, Goulburg, very easy transfer kill, and maybe that wasn't a 1 for 1, maybe it was just a 1 for 0 clearly. Just get that wave in, continue their dominance on that side of the map. Yeah, Akabane here, reach level 6. No wards available.
Matching as well. He's just in the Drake pit.
Oh, Wagner straight in, E over the wall. Akabane doesn't quite get the knock up. A little bit of a lack of coordination there. It's a great Seraphine ult that goes wide entirely, so it's not actually a great Seraphine ult at all. Kareem's in, no. Akabane going to get hard against the wall here. Q does go wide, but it's going to be a kill picked up by Kareem in response, trying to do some damage. Camilius and Inax. But unfortunate set of events here. You thought with Wagner walking in there right into Akabane and Camilius, didn't think he'd be able to get out there, but he just waltzes out through an E.
Amazing ultimate from Wagner, completely dislocating the play coming through from GameWard. And I think if Inax hit that ultimate, even then, they would have all just been stomped up immediately. Though, still looking for Smiley. He does have Arcane Shift. And should just be out of there.
Yeah, completely. You can see that although GameWard finding a lot of pressure in this bot side, they're not really able to ever quite acclimatize to it. You can see multiple times Smiley and Vignum dropping very, very low, but Seraphine and Camilius not able to quite dive it. Yeah, you see the Seraphine ult just goes completely wide there, and it would have maybe meant a return kill, but not quite been able to find there. Still an even game in this early game. 300 gold apiece for each team as the lead for Go.
Map state, fairly even still despite the early action going in favor of Go. They have 3 kills, but only 300 gold ahead. Now with rotations coming through, you can see they're actually bringing up their entire roster GameWard for the Rift Herald, while currently on the bottom side, Smiley is still collecting waves. So this should favor the situation for GameWard, although they still don't have their on-call as well yet from Minax.
Yeah, it's going to be a case of whether it's a similar situation to what we saw from LDLC last game. How much disturbance can they cause here? Wagnum's obviously here. Has that ultimate available. See Kareem's encircling somewhat. Ronaldo looking for a charm. Has to flash. Does find a charm onto Melonic there. A little bit of burn damage here. And they're actually heavily contesting this despite Smiley not being here. It's going to come down to a 50-50, you'd imagine. Q goes wide from Kareem, so he doesn't have a way into the pit. And that does mean Explosive Cast comes out to try and dissuade the fight here. Kareem still fancies his chances. He's on to Camilius now. W away. Does get stunned up by Melonic here. He's going heavily CC'd here. Off to the side as well. Swain picks up a double kill. And GameWard get the best of both worlds. They get the Herald and 3 kills.
Absolute disaster for Go, and Checolat in the backline. Those 2 double kills were solo kills. He managed to set that up for himself, completely isolated. While Kareem tried to look for a play, he was caught off guard by the center W and got instantly shot down. Great fight by GameWard, but so many resources was invested by Go. They had to push with Smiley in the bottom lane. They decided to TP him in, and they still lost the fight.
Absolutely, you have to almost question the decision-making there from Go. You could see, in contrast to LDLC in the previous game, this had to be just about how much time you can buy here. You can see Shekola, we didn't quite get to highlight it previously, but he's there and he's absolutely 1v9, and the backline takes out 2 there. It means that the fight isn't just a maybe him dropping. See, Kareem, who was in the backline for Team Go, he wasn't able to fish up much of a beneficial scenario.
Shekolat also got the Rift Herald, so in that regard, when he finally pops the plating in the mid lane, he's not going to share that with his jungler. That's just going to be 320 gold, essentially a kill, going into the mid lane and like that. Just like that, because he picks it up below.
Yeah, that's a massive gold injection. You imagine he's about 600, 700 gold up now, and a lot of GameWard's gold lead probably sitting on him. You can see they're about 500 gold in the lead now. First Dragon of the game is going to go the way of Go. Do GameWard have anything to say about it? Spectral Shroud from Camilius, says Seraphine. Oh, it's dodged out by the Magical Journey. Shekolad off to the side, trying to dodge out from a charm here. This charming man, as Smiths have forged themselves a dragon here for Go. Wagner continuously dodges out any sort of engage options that the bot lane of GameWard can offer his way.
At least they pick up the Drake here from Go, but you can't help but think that they are still in a really tricky spot. Smiley, have to be careful here. Oh, they're still fishing, but all of them are spotted on vision. I don't think this is going to amount to much.
Definitely not quite there. They do go fishing.
Doesn't bite anything.
Does not bite anything. You've got to think here. The Team GameWard, despite the theme being fishing, it's very much the case that bot lane pressure loves them, but magical journeys fear them. Vignerum is constantly able to find his way, dodging out. And so continuously. Chekolad has flash here. Great flash from him to avoid Kareem's engage here. It's going to be the flash or the kick.
I mean, I think they could have played it. Akabana was just around, but, you know, Chekolad, better safe than sorry in that regard. Third range, just barely actually. Warden.
He's got mercs as well. Yeah, I can understand why you would say he doesn't need to there.
Now, map state again coming out. You can see Camilius roaming on the center, but they don't need to do much. This is a game that's going to be much about the pressure on objectives. I think as soon as you have that Seraphine ultimate, that's where you feel confident in skirmishing. But up until that point, you don't have to look for much. Get a blue buff handover to Chekolad, keep the mid lane priority coming through with him now having endless possibilities of shotting in waves, and just stabilize Seraphine. And speaking of her...
Oh, Inax in a little bit of trouble here, has to flash away. Doesn't quite have that ultimate available yet. Oh, it's a long range W from Camilius that doesn't quite find its target.
Not long enough.
Not long enough. Could have done with a little bit of extra range there. It would have been beneficial. as I feel like the way that the game's playing out, Go are finding good openings, but I think it's fair to say that the game is going slowly, and I think that's a game state that benefits GameWard.
I think so as well. They don't, the more time that Karim as well spend on the bot side is time where Melonic can sit in the top lane and just finally pick up some farm. Remember, he had a very difficult time against the Gragas, but now he's finally managed to pick up a Divine Sunderer, sit nice and easy there.
Viking.
Recipient of attention again, but doesn't really catch him off.
Wagner is very much the beneficiary of benefit of the doubt there as he goes in aggressively. Rather, speaking of aggression, in the top side, Nuku going to be trying to get away from Melonic with the explosive cast, but Akabane is here. The bane of Nuku's existence. He does flash into the E here. We've quickly shifted over to the bot side here. Xinax is taking quite a few Qs. We can see Nuku's been taken off. Seraphine ult does not land onto anyone. Oh, that's not quite what
he gets one.
Wagner gets stunned up. That's good. That's a 1-for-1 return kill, and that means an equal map state. And now you can see Akabane is the one who's taken away those top camps.
Also a little bit of a problem. Smiley was tanking the turret so many times. He stacked it up 2 turret shots while no one was dealing damage to him. And then when, Victor finally walked in there, decided to take that aggro, and just took half his HP with 1 turret shot.
We're starting to see the swings and roundabouts as in the mid lane as well. It's just 3 consecutive wins for GameWard in about a minute.
Very early Leandris told me.
No, I do agree, but I think it's important to bring note to the fact that now that there's this top lane matchup has really been swung in the favour of Camille, I think we're really going to start to see that kind of being shifted every time he has ult. We'd expect to see Akabane in the top side. I feel like you can just weak side Inax and Senna. Senna can rotate them out when she needs to, but obviously next focal point going to be that dragon. But I think any point in the next 5 to 10 minutes, start to see that side lane come more and more online every time that Camille ult is up.
They're also disappointed we didn't get to see the Penguins travel all of Summoner's Rift there, but the auto attacks was coming along.
See the what?
Well, Viking was trying to stop recall coming through from Akabane, and since the meeps from Bard are Penguins, he didn't actually stop him. The auto attacks just threw all the way from blue buff to base, so it's just Penguins flying through the air. Summoner's Rift.
There's a joke there about like penguins flying south, but I know that they don't. I don't know enough about penguins' kind of natural biological cycles to really help you there. Yes, God, yeah, no, you're not wrong. I've said that completely. You know what I mean, like birds fly south. But
yeah,
speaking of things going south, the last few minutes have been going relatively south for Go. Now 1k behind, obviously got that dragon, but not really in a position to take it. And it has been Smiley getting engaged onto me. He gets CC'd so heavily and has to flash away here. Flash over the wall from Camilius. It's a lovely bit of aggression from him. Ultimate goes through him here. Ultimate from Kareem, but he's getting stunned up here. Shekelad's in now. Ronaldo gets stunned up there despite ulting away. Nuku's here, but he gets stunned up. Akabane in. Melonic ultimates onto Nuku here, and that's going to be him getting taken out by an axe. It's 2 kills for the side of GameWard. You spoke about how Go were not well poised to take their position around this dragon. It's well and truly been the case here as GameWard going to equal up the scores in terms of the dragons.
Yeah, but almost 17 minutes into the game. Oh my god, okay, fair enough. Smite was almost on true there. Teleports actually come through. Go, they're looking. How much are they going to find?
How much are they going to find? Smiley's gone for a relatively aggressive teleport here. Behind enemy lines. He's not quite the same flanking Inax that we saw in previous games. But they've tried and they have not succeeded to find anything cool ball.
I think they're desperate as well, and I would be too, because I think they're on the clock and their time it is running out. But speaking of time and what I wanted to say, I think we're going to be here for a while too. That was the second Drake, 17 minutes into the game. First Drake for GameWard as well. If we're looking at a Soul, we're still 15 minutes forward into the game. We're talking about a 32-minute Drake Soul coming through, which is a little late.
It's a little late, but you know, it's always good to get a game that goes down to the wire very much into the future. Speaking of the present, Kareem is on this Rift Herald trying to take it out, trying to get that tier 1, trying to get that tier 1 middle. You can imagine that's their next objective, open up the map a little bit, not fall too far behind in terms of tempo on the map, always make sure you're responding. So you can see GameWard in response, sacking the top side a little bit, going to be going for that tier 1 bot lane, take out some of these jungle camps as well, and they're constantly bleeding out resources opposite side of the map. They've got to be a little bit careful in terms of when this Rift Herald gets its second charge off. You can see they're channeling their bases now, though.
Yeah, very interesting, though. I think GameWard missed the window to kill the mid lane turret there if they wanted to. Obviously, they didn't know how far away the Rift Herald was channeled. But they get away the red buff instead. They start their recalls, and they try to stop the second dash from coming through. Let's see if Melonic stops it with a hook shot. Nope, not in position to it.
Yeah, I don't think they quite time their bases in coordination to really stop that. Really stop that from happening there. He's going to be in the second bounce there. But I don't think it's too bad for GameWard. I can't imagine there being a position whereby that turret is really ever in much danger. They don't really have a lot of side lane potency, I think, unless Melonic is kind of operating on the other side of the map. They don't play out the map state entirely correctly. But I think GameWard, now the map is back to neutral, very much in a position where they can start to poise and posit. Some vision around the Baron, then play for any future dragons as well. We have got our leave second Cloud Soul of the day. So, you'll be very unhappy to hear.
Yeah, they keep coming. But if you take a look at the vision right now, at least from how it looked, looks like GameWard was trying to anticipate blue buff respawn coming through in 1 minute and try and collect on that, but Melonic recalling on a ward. Oh no.
Oh, oh
no.
Well, you know, when you're on a break, I don't know about you, Goldborg, but when I was in school, when I was in like elementary school, our like break time at the end of the week where we all got to like play with all the toys and stuff was called Golden Time, and it was a lovely break. And unfortunately, Wagner has set up his top laner for a bit of a break from action there as well. And unfortunate, good reaction from Melonic. I think it's somewhat telegraphed, a little bit of time to react with there, but can you fault them for trying? You can understand. I mean, it's kind of that desperation we spoke about previously. They're just constantly trying to go for these plays and find them, but
I'm not faulting anything. It just looked funny.
No, you know, trying to be optimistic.
I think that's fine as well. And I think they have been making good cross maps still. Like, they're only 2k behind 20 minutes into the game. I think that could have been way worse. How the early game was played out had been really good in terms of how they were attacking the top side of the map. But we're looking as to how they continue being the attackers. And they've just had a hard time doing that due to not having much push in many lanes. They had it earlier, but that was only because they had a Rift Herald. Now you're not going to have access to that, and you won't for the rest of the game. You're going to need to find a pick at some point, and you're going to have to make it look better than what we just tried to display.
Absolutely, it's got to be an isolated pick, and it's just not many tools. I mean, beyond Kareem kind of being in a position whereby he can't really commit to one side of the map without suffering on the other side. When that Baron spawned, if you commit too many members like you are right now, in would have got numbers in advantage, obviously, towards that top side. You can imagine they can kind of pivot at a moment's notice. See Akane over the wall now, a little bit in far too deep here. Vignum's a nice little dodge from him though. Magical Journey is going to exit Vignum out from this area. And they're set up and well poised now, 40 seconds outside of the Dragon. Do they fancy their chances here? E from Nuku is great in terms of cancelling. If you try and buy a little time here, Explosive Cast gets Akabani away from the turret, but doesn't do too much beyond that. Shekalad is in, has teleported in. They've taken out Nuku. They've kind of taken whatever they want here, Goldborg, and never really anticipated this to be too great of an advantage for them. You thought they were more setting up towards the Dragon. They did just take the kill there and the turret.
But that's the thing. You get the kill, you get the turret. You can still set up for the Drake afterwards. On top side, Ronaldo trying to attack the tier 2 lane. Melonic is around. No Hectech Ultimento though, so I do think that Ronaldo should be able to pick it up.
Interesting enough, I think we saw that Inax actually flashed the Oplon badge. So maybe he's also a fellow believer in the Church of Oplon.
You can get Oplon badges?
Well, I think that's what he just showed up on the screen. No? It's Oplon's team thing, unless I'm mistaken. Someone in chat will have to correct me. I'm pretty sure the emote he just used is Oplon.
Oh, that's crazy if that's true.
I could be wrong, but it's what it looked like to me.
It could have been the Immortals one, if anything. That they have the kind of same, gladiator kind of.
Yeah, maybe. To it. Well, in any case, Oplon have basically
Chad is saying it's top esports, so there we go. Yeah, I didn't believe we had LFL coming to either.
It looks so similar.
It's the helmet, bro. I do see it. I understand why you'd be confused.
Oplon are maybe one of the only orgs that can actually, technically speaking, say they've got kind of their own badge, but it's not really their own badge. You could be.
What does that mean?
You could be confused like me. No benefit of the doubt. Melonic can have to E away here. Hook shot flashes away. I reckon he could have taken his chances here. Obviously, 3 members on the top side. A little bit more stopping power here than I think he would have otherwise imagined. He's let's flash away here, but have members in tow waiting for him.
And they're just not in a position where they're able to force a fight immediately because they rely quite a lot on Inax to start a lot of these fights. They don't have Inax around. They have it in the mid lane, and because both teams really have really lackluster engage options, nothing's happening. It's really difficult for both of them to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I think definitely the case. A lot of these Bard ults not entirely finding their mark. They are tempering with fate, I think it's fair to say, because I think their fate is very much to get outscaled this game, Gulborg. So you can understand why Inax does get charmed up here. Goes into stasis almost immediately, but the Lee Sin kick is going to mean, oh, that is going to be Inax that gets taken out. Explosive Cast doesn't quite manage to find its target here, but Chekalad is in. He's on to Smiley. One more W, one more ult proc will do it. But it is Melonic who finds Ronaldo on the other side of the fight. He's continuing. Kareem W's back to New Q. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Started with a charm onto Inax, has been brought back to a bit more even standings from a nice little exchange there.
Starting to get the feeling we're going to be here a while.
Yeah. It feels like to me that, yeah, team fights are just always going to run long, because it's not necessarily the case that... I think if CC is layered, and obviously you get a Seraphine ult, because Seraphine's going for this very high damage build, where I think her damage will be quite deceptive. You don't massively have that like consistent DPS currently. It's just very much going to be like over a course of time. Yeah. Whereas for Go, I feel like have like quite instant bursts and then also like consistent DPS coming out from the Israel. I think Go, unless they can find like an initial target to blow up like they just did with Inax, are just very hard pressed to sort of do anything in the face of quite a lot of healing.
Well, at least on the bright side, Melonic is building up towards that third item, either going for a GA or Death Stance in this scenario, with that Chain Vest being picked up. But for now, probably still a slow game until we reach the next objective in that Cloud Soul, potential Cloud Soul point rather, or GameWard. But control of the map is actually fairly even. I think Ronaldo is doing a really good job at keeping side lane pushed in. He's a thorn in the side of GameWard continuously. And so far, Melonic haven't been able to match that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fair characterization to bring out how much potency he's bringing to the team in terms of some of the charms. He's being able to deliver a lot of damage onto Chekalad there, actually, despite that bountiful wealth of HP he's gotten for himself.
Top lane pushed in. Not a play being committed.
I'm using the R any second now onto Wagner. I'm going to stop and wheel it back here. Seraphine is taken out though, Inax. Wagner's doing a good job of buying quite a bit of time here. W, he's going to save him just for a second, but he does get taken out there. Ronaldo in the backline onto Chekalad. Chekalad goes into stasis. Smiley ticking down rather slowly. Akabani flashed onto by Nuku goes into stasis as well. But it is going to be him getting put into the cryogenic freezing there as Nuku fancied his chances here. Kareem as well, chasing on to Chekalad. Can't find the Q angle here. It is a 2-4-3 in favour of Go, and they were actually able to surprisingly find a beneficial team fight themselves. It seemed like a team fight that was fought on 3 different fronts, Gulborg. It was quite hard to keep a track of.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. That was very weird watching. Once again, I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that Inax and Camilius aren't in a position where they're grouped around the carries they want to fight through. You don't get that encore through through your teammates, specifically the Wukong just moving forward, then hammer that home with the Cyclone on top of that. It's always just so split, not so coordinated between them. And that's why I was like, well, surely it's going to be around the objective they'll fight for it, but he still has that encore on Inax, and the Drake has spawned. I just wonder if Go actually wants to contest it, or if they're fine with giving over the third Cloud Soul here. Or the third Drake here, rather.
I think third Dragon here, obviously still in the GameWard. You can see how much priority they're putting on towards it. It's up to Go. How much do they want to respond to it, like Gulborg's just said? Not that much, it would appear. I think they're more opting in towards that mid prior, try and get some more vision towards his top side. Melonic fancies his chances going in. Almost managed to find Smiley. Seraphine ult comes out. Smiley's not dodged that. Melonic take out Smiley here. Melonic on a killing spree now. Inax gets taken out by Ronaldo. He's been the thorn in the side so many times now. How much more damage can he do? Camillus is in stasis. Kareem trying to do something. New Q with the Q. Finds it onto Inax. Melonic though onto Wagner. He gets a triple kill of his own. It's an ace for GameWard, and they can find the center in the Inax, but they can't find the beefy frontline. They just don't have the damage or stopping power to stop the bullet train that is GameWard as they find themselves now onto the Baron. And we're looking to seize out a little bit more control on the map.
Yeah, and finally they find a team fight that's convincing. 3 members alive should be enough to pick up the Baron themselves. They could wait 10 extra seconds for Inax and Camilius. I actually think that would be high value. Just to make sure that all your team is coming. And yeah, it looks like they're going to be doing that. So they're just waiting for Inax to respawn. As soon as he's there, there you go. giving over the Baron. True Shot Barrage come through, stop Chocolate, but really that's all there was to it.
Yeah, not quite stopping the bullet train in its tracks there. More just a temporary line switch. You see Melonic in here. And Smiley having to E here away from Melonic. He posits really nicely, center up with the Seraphine. It just means he gets onto him. Smiley drops almost immediately, not able to do much here. Flash was coming up soon, and it's just continuously these are fights that are fought on so many different fronts. You see the initial engage coming onto the AD carry, and then the other sort of AP assassin we have in Ari, constantly trying to get onto the backline of Seraphine in center. Ronaldo's holding up his job, but it almost feels as if the others not able to kind of capitalize in the same way. It's always Smiley getting kind of caught out on a lot of these exchanges, and you can see he's gone for that Dusk Blade to try and, if that kill reset comes down, just try and find a little bit of a thievery in the night, try and steal it away in some of these team fights, but he's just not able to do that yet.
No, and let's see, Ronaldo looking.
What's a Seraphine ult? Found some decent cooldowns here, but he just gets blown up immediately. Couldn't find that dash away. Smiley as well gets dragged in. Has to flash. Checolad's onto it.
Here we go.
Oh, he's got no E. He's just dead here. This is an overstep entirely from Go. With the Baron not available, Nuku's got to challenge that split push up in the top side from Melonic. It's going to be a 4v3. 4v2 even in the mid lane if Nuku goes up and contests that. Otherwise, Melonic's going to be rattling onto these turrets uncontested. Kareem's trying to look for a little flank, but this is not the numbers advantage available. It's going to be a double inhibitor, I'd imagine, GameWard.
Yeah, finally it feels like they got too much water into the cup and it started spilling over. The Baron pressure was enough. First lane going down, second lane in the top lane, being the recipient of the pressure, and now second inhibitor sure to fall too. GameWard can try and look for it, can try and recall, just go for the resets. They have every option available for them.
Well, you know, when the pressure's on, first thing to go is your ears, and cries of Ronaldo to try and find some of these picks are falling on deaf ears for his teammates. He does meet a death of his own. He's going to drop down, trying to find his way to that to that Rabadon's mark, just doing that extra damage, try and take out the Seraphine, try and take out the Senna. But beyond that, even if you take out these primary targets, they're still getting their ultimates out, they're still providing so much utility. And it's an uphill battle now for Go.
I mean, there's Sonya's hourglasses as well. You're going to have to cut through some, even when mistakes have been made from Inax, Professional, or Chocolate. The kicks coming through from Karim, they're just not going to connect.
You know, they're running up that hill for sure now. They've got to make a deal with God if they want to win this game.
Swap out places, but I'm not sure that God's going to allow that in this point in time. Not fair, is he? And now GameWard, probably the only members with anyone godlike. I'm not sure if Chocolate has reached that point just yet. No, still 5 kills. Need to mount that up towards the 6-7. Now one lane to play on. Inhibitors down in the top and mid lane. It's just about waiting, finding that pressure.
6-7 indeed. If they pop out of the 4-door, could be trouble for Go. You can see them ramping up to the tier 3 turret, and Melonic just getting a little bit of that CC out. He's doing such a good job with that hook shot, just trying to get out some of that primordial, some of that initial CC, just to give a little bit more space to his team, give a little bit more space to the engage. Akabane, if he fancies it. They could just play with waves here. They've got the mid lane, the top lane stacking in. There's no rush here. The waves are synced. We're seeing an LFL team, something that we've actually tracked quite a bit. Vigram has to flash away here. He's going to get taken out by the Seraphine. That's one person down. This means that someone's got to go and respond to the waves. It's now going to be a 5v3. Unless someone doesn't move here, in which case they can contest. But teleport available from Melonic. Here's the go button. Here is the end of the game, potentially. Smiley's caught up in that Hex Tech. Ultimate there. Akabane takes out Smiley. Nuku in the stasis, but back to the cryo chamber is he. Kareem has to flash away. Needs to chase him for too long. So it's a short TP from Inax just to wade the waters. Make sure that Kareem can't get any sort of chance here. And
oh, he finally goes down.
Finally goes down there, gets another kill for himself. And GameWard back to form, back to 10-4. Go, another disappointing game for them, 5-8 now. Kind of existing very much at that 6-7 mark.
Yeah, but I think we were talking about reach on this patch as well. And I think coming through with the rotations we saw from Go, they really didn't set themselves for the success they kind of needed. I think Ronaldo really tried his hardest to make this work. And I think he was so close to being 1v9 on this Ari. You know, really showing why they have the priority on towards the